everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at 6.ns.b3, fluently add, subtract, multiply, and divide multi-digit decimals using the standard algorithm for each operation. So for today's lesson, we're going to focus on just adding and subtracting decimals. So our steps are line up the decimal points and the numbers, add a zero placeholder to the right of any number as needed, bring down the decimal point in your answer, add or subtract from right to left, and then check your answer. So here are our first examples already lined up for us. As you see, these decimal points are neatly stacked, one on top of the other. Our numbers are also lined up. So our 10th place, our 100th, and our thousands. Okay. Now here, if you notice that we're missing a number, so we're going to just put a 0 in there as a placeholder. And now we can go ahead and add. So 0 plus 9 is 9. 2 plus 5 is 7. 1 plus 2 is 3. And I want to make sure that I bring this decimal point down as best as I can. And then 7 plus 4 is 11. So here, the sum of 7.12 and 4.259 is 11.379. One way to check your work is through estimation. So I'm going to use estimation to check my work. So here, I know if I round the number 7.12 to a whole number, it's approximately 7. And if I round 4.259 to a whole number, it's about 4. So 7 plus 4 is 11, and 11 is pretty close to 11.379. So I know my answer is in a realistic range. Now, for those of us who may struggle with lining up our decimal, this is an organizer that we can use to help us keep our numbers organized. So in the first one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. So I'm going to start from the right-hand side and then fill in all the way. Okay, in the second one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and behind my decimal, I have 2 places, and here I have 3. So I'm going to write this one first since it has the most decimal places. And then now, when I look at the second number, I want to make sure that decimal point is in the same position. So I'm going to put it here. And then I'm going to put the 2, 3 behind it. And then the 7, 2, 1 in front. So this allows me to line up my decimal points and my places appropriately. Now we can put in a 0 here as a placeholder and then go ahead and perform our operation of adding or subtracting. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 10. 8 plus 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. I'm going to bring that decimal point down so it's lined up. 7 plus 3 is 10 plus 1 is 11. 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 1 is 10, and I carry that last one. 1 plus 2 is 2, and that's my final answer. Now, when I look at subtraction, it's the exact same process. The only difference is that instead of adding, I am going to subtract. So here in my first number, I have 4 digits, and in my second number, I have 5 digits. Now let's look behind the decimal place. So here we have 3 numbers behind and 2 numbers in front. Now when we subtract, the order does matter, so we can't just flip the numbers around. We have to make sure that we're writing whichever one is listed first on top, and then the subsequent numbers below it. So I'm going to skip a space because I remember that I have 3 decimal places in my number, in my second number, and then I'm going to fill in the others. Okay, so 62.98, and then I'm going to line up that second decimal point and now plug in those numbers. Now we can go ahead and put in our placeholders, and here we are subtracting. Okay, so I cannot take 5 away from 0, but I can borrow. So 5 from 10 is 5. 2 from 7 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. And I'm going to bring down that decimal point. Again, here, 4, I cannot take 4 away from 2, so I'm going to borrow. Okay, and then now 4 from 12 is 8. 2 from 5 is 3. So for a final answer of 38.255. So before we proceed to our other examples, let's just take a look back, right? So we made sure that we accounted for the digits after the decimal places, made sure that they're lined up. So tens are with tens, hundreds are with hundreds, so on and so forth. Decimal places are in the correct position. Ones are together, tens are together, hundreds are together, right? So you want to make sure that all of your places are lined up appropriately, and then you're adding or subtracting as you know how. So let's take a look at these two examples here. We do no longer have the organizer, but if you feel that you need it, go ahead and draw one for yourself. So I'm going to start off by stacking my numbers, 0.355, 0.877, and here we are adding. So if you noticed, my decimal points are lined up as best as they can be, okay? I can go ahead and bring that down into my answer, so I know that that's exactly where my decimal point will be. So here I'm going to start adding from the right side. 5 plus 7 is 12. 5 plus 7 is 12 again, and I carried that 1 from the previous 12, so that's 13. 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Now, just like I would with any other problem, I'm writing the 2, and I'm going to carry the 1 over to my next section. 0 plus 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. So the sum of 0.355 plus 0.877 is 1.232. Now let's check that using estimation. If I estimate 0.355, that's about 0.4. And if I estimate rounding to the nearest tenth, that is, and if I estimate 0.877 rounding again to the nearest tenth, that's going to be 0.9. So here I have 9 and 4, which would give me 13. And if I had stacked these, okay, the decimal point would be located here. 4 plus 9 is 13. We would have carried the 1. So it would have been 1.3, which isn't too far off from 1.232. So based on that comparison, I can draw the conclusion that my number is in the accurate range. Now let's try the next example. So we're going to start off with stacking our numbers. Line up that decimal point and the numbers below it. We're adding. Now we need our placeholder. 8 plus 0 is 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. 7 plus 2 is 9. 6 plus 1 is 7. So let's go ahead and perform our check. And again, I'm using estimation. So 67.218 rounded to a whole number would be about 67. And then 12.78 rounded to a whole number is 13. So for those of you who may have forgotten how to round, right? So if it's 5 or more, you add one more. If it's less than 5, you leave it the same. So here, because this is a 2, so it's less than 5, we leave 67 the same. Here, 5 or more, this is 7. 7 is greater than 5, so we add one more to the 12 and make it 13. Now, 67 plus 13 is 80. 79.998 and 80 are pretty close. If I rounded 79, I would actually get 80. So this is definitely in the accurate range. So following the same steps, just that now we're going to look at subtraction. So again, the same process, start off with stacking those numbers. Line up that decimal to the best of your ability. Again, if you need to construct your own graphic organizer, you could use lines, okay, to make sure that everything is lined up the way it should be. So I know that when I go ahead and complete my answer, right, my answers are going to fall into these boxes. So let's use this one and see what it looks like. So my decimal point is here. Okay, so I put it down below so that they're nicely lined up. I'm going to go ahead and put in a placeholder here, and then we are subtracting. Okay, I cannot take 5 from 0, so I will have to borrow. 5 from 10 is 5. 3 from 4 leaves 1. 7 from 7 leaves 0. And 3 from 4 leaves 1. So here our answer is 10.15. Let's go ahead now and use estimation to check. So 47.5, we would round that to 48. And then 37.35, we would round that to 37. So 48 minus 37 is 11. Okay, 11 is not too far off from 10.15. So we know that our answer is in an appropriate range. Let's go ahead and set up that last example. So 76.214. And then I'm lining up my numbers, 102. Putting that decimal point directly below, 4 and 2, and this is subtraction. So again, I can construct my own graphic organizer, so I'm just going to use lines to show where those numbers and the decimal points should be. Okay, so everything is nicely lined up. I'm going to bring my decimal point right down here. And then now I can go ahead and subtract. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. 6 minus 4 is 2. And 7 minus 2 is 5. So here my answer is 52.112. Now if we use estimation to check our work, 76.214 would be 76. Minus 24.102 would be 24. And now when I subtract those two, I get 52. Okay, my answer is definitely in the correct range. All right, guys, so that's it. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.